Good evening. My name is Alexander Hagan. I am the CEO of a small medium-sized tech company in Silicon Valley. I have been trained in the scientific method as a research engineer in telecommunications. I filed several patents, and I've also been a journalist. I am reporting to you tonight regarding disturbing developments in Libya. The Telegraph, the UK Telegraph, has an article which I will provide. And in this article, a Mr. Andrew Gilligan describes the complete destruction of the city of Tawargha, which was a Gaddafi supporting city. In this city, he describes the following. Along the road that leads into Tawargha, the Misurata Brigade has painted a slogan. It says, "The Brigade for Purging Slaves and Black Skin." Now, these are the people that we are supporting. This callous statement is used to keep support going for the mission. Any rebel abuses pale by comparison with those of the regime. People who saw the charred skeletons of prisoners, machine gunned and burned by Gaddafi's retreating Khamis Brigade, or who witnessed an indiscriminate bombardment of Misurata will not quickly forget the scenes. He omits information about dozens of executions that occurred in this city of Tawargha, and we can look at that information right now from Alex Jones, who describes the atrocity. And I have links to all of these in the comment section. Now, Alex Jones out and out calls it genocide. When you consider his description of the bombardment of Misurata, you must consider also the shock this country has been put through from 20,000 aerial missions, over 7,000 of which have delivered their payloads of bombs and missiles, killing at least 1,000 civilians, and who knows how many young men who thought they were fighting for their country. Also, the atrocities the loyalists are accused of conducting would probably never have happened if we had allowed peace talks and refused to bomb until the Gaddafi has to go stipulation had been changed to, "We will talk with Gaddafi about real democracy now in Libya or resume military operations." These Gaddafi quote-unquote atrocities, which I haven't investigated because there's so much troubling information about the NATO mission itself, are results of the NATO mission. I'm not saying that there isn't going to be investigations into these as well. However, that is not the focus. The focus is to show our conduct, Americans, British, French, and Qatari. The second disturbing article is about the rounding up of loyalists in Tripoli. So we'll look at this one as well. This is in Spanish. So in this case, this lady's saying, "Let's contact Telesur's Diego Marin directly from Libya." And he reports, "I'm in Tripoli at one of the jails where they're imprisoned. Thousands of people were arrested during the raids conducted in the city." Apparently it takes so long. All these people were arrested on suspicion of collaborating with loyal forces of Muammar Gaddafi. In other words, normal citizens of a country. The case of black people is critical. Almost all of them are suspected of being mercenaries or Gaddafi's loyal force members. That's the second issue that we're seeing, is that we are supporting and arming and targeting and doing the heavy lifting for a new group of people who are doing mass arrests of people who are simply suspected of having supported their government. Third, we have the disappearance of surface-to-air missiles, which Mr. Kucinich has written about. In this case, here's the article about 20,000 surface-air missiles unsecured in Libya. And the very committee that it's been well known that CIA has admitted they've been involved in the Libya war. Kucinich's assertion that CIA was involved in war in Libya was surprisingly met with denials by members of the Intelligence Committee. In fact, the fact that CIA's involvement has been widely reported, despite the fact that the CIA's involvement has been widely reported. So this shows that 20,000 surface-to-air missiles are missing. There's also been stories of a release of up to 15 million small arms throughout the area. Incredibly, a quick Google News search does not show this story today, but we've all seen stories about these weapons. Had we had talks, these weapons could potentially have been secured. The known collaboration between NATO and al-Qaeda jihadist Belhaj, who is the military commander of Tripoli. While I have no idea of whether he is a good or a bad person, we knowingly aimed and trained the very people our war on terror is designed to imprison and assassinate against a secular government. And finally, a former U.S. congressman has testified he witnessed Dutch and French, well, this isn't finally actually, this is ongoing, he witnessed Dutch and French killing and even beheading Libyan loyalists and rebels to show who's in charge. And here we have the article. He says, in an interview inside his Northwest DC home last week, the noted civil rights leader told the Afro that he watched French and Danish troops storm small villages late at night, beheading, maiming, and killing rebels and loyalists to show them who was in control. What the hell, I'm thinking to myself, I'm getting out of here, so I went in hiding. Each of these articles has much more information. I would also say that with our surgical zero casualty wars, it really isn't war anymore. It is assassination. We did not battle the Libyan infantry. We assassinated them, an entire country's army, one by one, with their having no chance to fight back, no matter how heroic their efforts. Now in Beli Walid, in Red Valley, and in Sirte, these loyalist forces are fighting with NATO, bombing them, surrounded by rebels, with their electricity and their water cut, and no access to the Red Cross. These are not legal war conditions. We have also seen a Canadian reporter claim that 85% of Tripoli was opposed to the NATO intervention. This article is no longer accessible unless you are a member of the Canadian Chronicle Herald of Canada. But in his case, he said, on a fact-finding trip into Tripoli last week, I saw firsthand, now this is a bit older, that Gaddafi has solidified his control over the capital and most of western Libya. Foreign diplomats still based in Tripoli confirmed to me that since NATO started bombing, Gaddafi's support and approval ratings have actually soared to about 85%. This is because a great deal of the tribes still pledge their support, and they have a historical resentment against foreign intervention because they were occupied by Italy, and a third of them perished. Was under fascist Italy, and they rounded them up into concentration camps, actually in the area of Sirte. So, carrying on. To recap, thousands of surface-to-air missiles have disappeared, and as many as 15 million small arms, which includes machine guns, may flow out of the country. Now, here I speculate that this could provide a wonderful method of destabilizing and reshaping more countries and allowing the U.S. to grow its bloated military and security services even further. I need to remind all people of the background of these events. The U.S. represents 47% of global military spending. Imagine what that number would increase to when you add France, Britain, and so forth, even though they only use 2.5% of GDP instead of our near 5%. We have 1 million people in the security state, as documented in the recent Frontline television program, Top Secret America. It's an unthinkable number, and we are fighting an imaginary enemy, which you can read about or actually watch. The wonderful BBC documentary that was done a couple of years ago. They wouldn't do it now because it would be too contrary to the current mission. This is called The Rise of the Politics of Fear, where they essentially show that Al-Qaeda was a very tiny operation. Virtually no one in Afghanistan captured was from Al-Qaeda. And they were people fighting to defend Islam. They were fighting to defend, which is part of their culture. When Muslims tend not to attack each other directly and will fight when a Muslim country is attacked. And we armed the Northern Alliance, who were very savage people who did indeed topple the Taliban, and we paid them to arrest each quote-unquote Al-Qaeda fighter. We claimed there were massive complexes in the caves, a la Iron Man movie. They didn't find any such complexes. They just found normal, standard caves. So we've created an imaginary enemy which we are fighting against, and we are fomenting their recruitment. We are conducting drone assassinations and undeclared wars in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, Libya, Iraq, and many other places. Any Muslim would be so angry right now, you could not blame them for rushing to the nearest militant recruiting office. All of this arranged by the USA. We are 25th out of 30 countries in education. We have 2 million people incarcerated, with 5% of the world's population. We have 25% of the world's prisoners, more than any country, including China. We have at least 1/3 of the world's ex-felons. Figures are hard to come by, but they number at least 11 million, and possibly as many 20 million. Our child poverty rate has hit near 20%. The stimulus apparently has been quoted as costing nearly $4 million per job created. Wikipedia and a statistics website called Nation Master, the easiest ways of finding these figures, although I also post them on my page, Libya Conflict Intel, in downloads of PowerPoints and on Microtopia. For the victims of 9/11, many must be rolling in their graves. Their deaths have been used to justify a near dictatorship being imposed and a destruction of the U.S. economy. The Patriot Act, which even has a top secret classification of how it is interpreted, is the soft dictatorship. Did Obama know that Gaddafi had much wider support than we are told? This is clearly evident in a 6-month resistance that we were told might last days or weeks. Could he not have halted the campaign and told the rebels that they had to have peace talks instead of allowing them to take a hardline position that Gaddafi must go? How is it possible to have peace talks with somebody who is gone while we engaged in a muscular display of bombing? Finally, in Libya, the real culpable parties are the media outlets, which have done such a horrible job covering this that I will never be able to read or listen to anything from any of them, including MSNBC, Democracy Now!, Al Jazeera. I must read the papers as Russians read Pravda. In my mind, there were 4 key moments of discovery I experienced, as I also initially supported the rebels. First, I did a conflict analysis in early May where I discovered that Libya had the highest metrics of any country in Africa, according to the United Nations and other sources. And it was a very, very tightly controlled society, what we would call a police state. But when looking at the situation, I think we should strongly revise the freedom rating of the USA. The Patriot Act has essentially revoked our Bill of Rights. We hijacked the deaths of the people in 9/11 to rule people using fear, larding the military and security agencies with essentially unlimited funds, and to start a reign of terror on smaller, weaker Islamic countries. The horror of the abuse of the no-fly zone included killing and bombing the Libyan television station. That clearly is not a form of protecting civilians, although if you look at the San Jose Mercury and other papers, they tried to justify and cheerlead this clearly illogical action for a civilian protection operation. The frustration with the media stonewalling was the third point. Oh, I beg your pardon. Yes, well, the horror of the abuse of the no-fly zone initially was the bombing of the Gaddafi family, attempting to assassinate them, and killing 3 grandchildren of a person who wasn't in the government, a son of Gaddafi who was a student in Munich, I believe. The frustration with the media stonewalling was the third issue. I posted a video about 11 questions about Gaddafi in Libya that NATO, Obama, Rice, Clinton would not honestly discuss. And now this is the final straw. We are standing by while genocide and ethnic cleansing take place. In fact, we're aiding the people who are doing this. This is not about Gaddafi, it's about us. Our ancestors have fought in the American Revolution and the Civil War, and they would be horrified by what we are allowing to occur. There is a great deal of information indicating that NATO either started or hijacked the uprising, and irrefutable evidence that they have facilitated and enabled an ethnic cleansing and what could become genocide. These are the very same organization that fought ethnic cleansing and genocide in Serbia. And now we are essentially aiding and abetting it. By any definition of the word, it has not already reached that benchmark. We've certainly engaged in mass murder of blacks in facilitating these operations. I hope you will agree that we must put on trial all of the leaders responsible, and many of them, if found guilty, should pay the price of others who have facilitated genocide. With the information provided, how could this possibly be construed as NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen claims that we are protecting civilians? We will continue our operation until no civilian can be harmed. With mass murder of blacks, rape of blacks in Libya, I want to thank whoever VMSRK is, who as a YouTuber has found and posted